Good morning, good morning. This is the second time I'm gonna try to knock this video out. Getting a little disturbances around here, you know what I'm saying? My kids begged me to allow them to get a pet, so I have a little kitten around here. And he has no name yet. 2 weeks in, we still can't agree on a name. But anyway, he's not terrible, but he's bad. Speaking of which, bad. Anyway, so let's talk about it, okay? I'm sorry I ain't been on here for a minute. I'm gonna try to get more consistent and more, consistent is good enough. Okay, we're gonna leave it right there. Okay, so for those of y'all who have been tuning in from time to time, y'all already know that I love information. I'm always surfing the web. I'm always reading something. I might not agree with everything, but I take the information in, process it, see if it does anything for me or, whatever. But sometimes certain things that I come across makes me pose a question or like whether it be music, movies, somebody walking past, whatever is going on. I kind of take that information or whatever, and sometimes it makes me pose questions to myself. And doing these questions to self, and sometimes, there are some questions that you have never even thought to ask yourself. Like, it never even crossed your mind. You know what I'm saying? So when these questions actually come across you and you point those questions and direct them at yourself and you say, hey, what if this, that, and the other? And then when you answer the question, sometimes you have the biggest epiphanies about yourself in the world, okay? Look, y'all excuse my little do-rag situation. I had got my hair done and, look, we not going to get into hair this morning. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Anyway, so I ran across this video, and it was a video of LeToya Luckett, and she was having a conversation with her father. And during the conversation, they were talking about, forgiveness, because her dad hadn't really been the example that she needed in childhood. And they were kind of going over their life together in a very open dialogue where they were both able to see each other without a lot of harsh judgment. Okay, they were just talking about it and getting it out there, right? So within this conversation that they were having, she said something, and I had to turn it around towards myself, right? Now check this out. She said, and I have a lot of stuff written down, not a lot, but just roll with me, okay? So what she said was that she never saw an example of a male to provide for her or protect her, which caused for her to never make providing and protection a part of the list. Everybody has a list when they are looking for a mate. And everyone has a certain amount of boxes that they feel needs to be checked. And that goes for men and women. You know what I'm saying? Whether a man is like, okay, I don't want nobody with no kids, or I want a woman who knows how to take care of the house, or, whatever your boxes are, everybody kind of has a list, for the most part. And within trying to but every time she has been in relationship, she's noticed that she has never made that a priority in her boxes that needs to be checked. And was, I mean, like, it was almost like somebody had dropped a bomb in my back pocket. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, that made me think. I said, is that anything that I have? I mean, like, are those two things something that I have put into my list of things to be checked off? Because to be honest with you, that is one of the roles as a man in a relationship and throughout history. I mean, this is not just something that I'm throwing out here, you know what I'm saying? But throughout history, and even in the Bible, it talks about protection of the woman, your wife, providing for, you know what I'm saying? So let's not go there. I don't care which way you come at me, y'all know what I'm talking about. So it made me realize that I had also never had an example of being provided for. Now, not just me, but also within my parents' relationship. Okay, now we're going to get back to that. I had also never had an example of being protected. Okay, and with my dad, within my mother and my father's relationship, she had always been the consistent provider. What, you know, like financially, whatever providing means, we're not gonna go through all of the little nuances of providing, okay? And my father, he worked jobs, but his contribution to the household, to his relationship, to his child, financially and otherwise, was minimal, okay? And I'm not saying that the things that he did was not something that was very much needed or was right on time or whatever the situation was. We're not getting there. We're just talking about overall, like the blanket umbrella of the situation. It was minimal, okay? And in my life, protection was like non-existent. Like if I had a problem with a teacher, you know, most parents is going to come and see what this problem is about. Damn. Okay, we're not going to go there. But most parents are going to come and see what this problem is about. Whether it's boys in school, most male men are going to, you know, step in and handle it in a certain way, okay? Whether it be boys in the neighborhood or just as I got older and started to move into relationships, when you come to your father crying about, oh, they did this to me, or they may have slapped me. I mean, I'm just giving you an example, but I don't think I really had anybody to slap me. But whatever. So whatever these men or young men were doing throughout my life, I never felt that I had anyone that was going to come and check a nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never had that. And I've always had to do it for myself, right? And fathers show you what you're supposed to accept from other men that come into your life. And they also show other men, males, how you are supposed to be treated. They set the standard for how their daughter is going to be treated. Just like on Bad Boys, okay? I'm going to give you that as an example. She's a little girl. She's going off to prom or on the first date or whatever the situation was. I can't remember. But Martin and Will played the little tag teamy, nigga, you better have a back by 11 o'clock, not 11:01. That shows a young man what is expected of him and that you're not going to play games with him if he steps out of this box with your child, right? So, as I got into relationships, I looked at like other women. They were always like, I personally never understood women who was like, oh, you don't lost your job, I'm out. The money dwindling, you ain't riding that car no more, I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? I never thought about life like that. I just was like, man, that's some sucker ass shit. You know what I'm saying? Just because a motherfucker fall off, now you, oh, I don't love you anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't want nobody to treat me like that. So why would I do that to somebody else? So, and that idea that I was having about, that it put me in a place where I was like, okay, well, if you fall off, I'm gonna hold you down. I got it. You know what I'm saying? I'll hold it down for a minute. But where I went wrong was that I never set a time limit. And you always give time extension after time extension. And sometimes you never even bring it to the table that you have extended the time, or there was a time limit in your mind and in your heart. So now your frustrations are setting in because you like, well, damn, I done held it down for damn near a year now. When you gon', you know what I'm saying? When you gon', you know what I'm saying? But you're not necessarily saying this to them, especially being the supposedly submissive one in a relationship. You're blurring the lines because you're supposed to be submissive, but you're supposed to be, and then being submissive, you're allowing someone else to lead. But if they're not leading properly, that means that you're leading and being submissive, which that shit don't work, okay? And we'll get into that on another video if I haven't done it already, but that's not where I'm going. So let's keep going, right? But the frustration sets in. So I just gave you an example of not being provided for, right? So on the flip side of that, little story time about protection. I remember being in a situation where I was staying around my significant other's family. Not with them, but around them. And for whatever the reason, that person's family just always seemed to be around the corner, down the street. Like, no matter where I moved to, somebody was like not far away. I can throw a rock and hit their ass, okay? So this particular time, we were, everybody was kind of staying on one block, okay? Like, you could walk 3 houses down and be in so-and-so house and cross the street and you at so-and-so house and somebody else is around the corner on the next block. That's how it was at this moment. And my oldest son was kind of young at the time. I'm not sure exactly how old, but I want to say in my mind maybe 7 or something like that. And so long story short, he was outside in front of the house, or should I say on the side of the house, like in a gangway, and there was 2 family members of the significant other that was having they were, having a back and forth, just running their mouth at this point. But I knew that these 2 people were very much the type of people who this backing and forth and, just talking crap back and forth. But I knew that this could possibly elevate or, escalate into something else, because they are the type of people who will take it from 0 to 1,000 real fast, right? So I said, I got up out the house. I said, son, get up in it, it's time to come in the house. You know what I'm saying? So he looking like, oh, this is my family, and there's something going on. Let me see what's going on. So I went down there to get him, and I'm like, get up in here, you know what I'm saying? But as I sent him in the house, now the ruckus has started. And this is a father and son situation, right? So now I am standing in a spot that my son was just standing in. I just sent him in the house. He just hit the door. I don't have enough time to get myself out of the situation, really. So what happens is that the son was older than me. He's scared of his dad. Dad picks up, I think he went to go get a aluminum bat. And son picks up one of my kids' scooters, you know, one that you could kind of just pick up like, and he like, oh, you gonna hit me? I got you. So son, now, you know, because he knows his daddy crazy, throw the scooter down and he runs towards me. Grabs me with both of my arms, my clothes. You know how when you run behind somebody and you using them for a shield? Now this is what he's doing with me. So dad is like, man, let her go, or I'm gonna let it rock. I'm gonna let it roll. You feel me? And he like, let her go. So dude don't let me go. He got me, like, cause he don't want to get hit, cause he know what his daddy is on. So daddy like, all right, you ain't gonna let her go? Bye. Who get hit? Me. They hit me in my thigh, almost at the kneecap area. If it would have been a couple little centimeters lower, I probably would have had a busted kneecap and never walked again, okay? Within that situation, after it was over, I never assumed that the person would necessarily go knocking niggas out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that wasn't even something that I really wanted. But I did want you to check your family, because neither one of them should have been in front of your house with this bullshit that could have got you put out, your family put out. You know what I'm saying? 2, your child was just right here, and they would have did whatever right here with your kid. 3, they wound up using your so-called woman, girl, wifey, whatever you wanted to, you know, whatever, as a shield, and the other one wound up hitting her with a bat. I expected that person would have, those 2 people would have at least got checked. Don't you never do. I wound up having to check those 2 individuals on my own another day without the go ahead from my mate, because I seen that they wasn't gonna do it. And I'm a firm believer that if you don't nip certain things in the bud, it'll happen again. So I had to go and be my own nigga. I'm gonna just leave it there. Be my own man. Not nigga, but my own man, okay? So, within all of that, we have to be very, very careful how and what we are portraying to our children, because you don't know the effect of how you're acting, how it's computing in their minds, and how it's going to turn up in their lives later on. The examples that we set in front of our children, you know, just living your own personal life, you really have to be careful, because you wonder, you know, as Johnny and Jane, or Jane, gets older, you wonder where all this toxic bullshit came from, and why they act like they act, and why they handle certain situations like they handle it. But you have to realize that some version of the nonsense that they're displaying comes from you. Be careful, y'all.